Magnerie. Magnerie. Officially. From the guy who only called all his games last year. So I'm assuming he knows how to say the guy's name. He also said Mags and Maggie were acceptable, but just so we're clear, Magnerie. Okay? Okay, now let's move on with our lives. What's up, everybody? I'm Tara Wellman. This is Birdseeds, and the Cardinals are good? Is this for real? I kind of keep waiting for someone to pinch me and wake me up from this dream. But on second thought, I kind of don't want to wake up if it is a dream, because it's a pretty good one, and because I'm extremely tired and I have a killer headache, so the sleep thing's probably a good idea right now. So it's another off day Monday, at least an off day for the Cardinals, but as far as the off day, it's just kind of been off for me, as in not quite like I planned. I spent entirely too much time dealing with this. Now guys, I don't know about you, but I feel... Every time. PA announcers, man, I swear they know when I'm gonna start talking every time. And not enough time dealing with, well, all this. So, this is very late at night, I'm very tired, and I have to be back at work in like less than 10 hours, and I have a splitting headache. So, all of that to say, a little rough around the edges, is probably how this is going to go. And I'm not going to get super involved in any sort of abstract analysis of the week. What I'm going to do instead is just some rapid fire, off the top of my head, top 10 takeaways from another really good week of Cardinals baseball. And yes, I will be giving away 2 sets of tickets to St. Louis Pitch Talks coming up on Thursday. So stick around if you left a comment on either the blog or the last Birdseeds video, because I will be announcing winners of those 2 sets of tickets at the end of the show. All right, so takeaway number 1 from the week. Comebacks are allowed? To see them come back from 4 runs down late in the game 2 days in a row against the Marlins, that felt like a pretty big deal. And we'll see if it is going forward, but definitely a highlight of the week. I think it's pretty safe to say that at least one of those 2 comebacks would not have happened without the aforementioned Magnerie Sierra. This kid is so exciting, and I know he needs the seasoning, I know he needs the time in the minor leagues, but there's a part of me that feels like, let him stick around until he starts to struggle, and then send him down with some specific things to work on. And let him be the spark while it lasts. I don't think it's fair to talk about the impact Sierra has had without also mentioning Tommy Pham. Now, admittedly, I've been a bit of a critic of Tommy Pham in the past because he seems to be a very streaky player. He'll be out of his mind good for a couple of weeks and then not just fall back to earth, but really struggle for a couple of weeks after that. That said, right now, he's playing out of his mind, and it's almost impossible to imagine the Cardinals keeping him off the field with the way that he's playing and with the direct impact he's had on several of the wins this week. I don't quite know how they move all the pieces around to make room for all of these players that are playing well when they're not even supposed to be on the team, but sometimes that's what you gotta do. That's why they pay John Mozeliak the big bucks. The other more problematic piece of this puzzle, though, is the impending return of Johnny Peralta. Because, see, this is not really a matter of sticking him back into the lineup because he's got the higher upside. This is a matter of if and when he plays, it's going to be, well, because he's Johnny Peralta, not because he's actually the better of any of those options. Again, I don't know how you go about doing that, but I'm concerned about the return of Johnny Peralta being actually a bad thing rather than a good thing. And I hate to say that about any player, but the truth hurts. On the completely opposite end of the spectrum, can we just talk about Trevor Rosenthal for a minute? I mean, I'm not sure there are adjectives left to adequately express how incredible he has been. And someone mentioned it, I think earlier in the week, and I absolutely agree and have reiterated it a number of times that I don't think there's any way Trevor Rosenthal was healthy last year. I don't know that there are many relievers that are not closers that you would feel like you can't miss their innings. That's how I feel about Trevor Rosenthal right now. Sticking with pitching, and another guy that I think is going to play a very significant role for the Cardinals moving forward in some capacity is Marco Gonzalez. It was fantastic to see him come back in a rehab start with Memphis this week and pitch 7 innings, give up 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. And it was easy from all accounts that I have heard, that I have seen. This is a kid that has really had a hard time getting back to where he was after he kind of burst onto the scene unexpectedly at the major league level and then has failed primarily because of injury to get back to that point. Now, I say he's going to be an impact for the Cardinals. I don't know that means at the major league level, but a good Marco Gonzalez opens the door for a lot of different things, whether it's bringing him up because you need a left-handed guy to go out of the starting rotation if, I don't know, for example, Michael Wacha needs a couple of starts off, because that seems to be an impending possibility, or if it's in the trade market, because all of a sudden a good Marco Gonzalez gives the Cardinals a lot more play in the trade market to use him as a valuable piece in combination with something else to get a pretty legitimate return. So I think a healthy Marco Gonzalez opens the door for a lot of really great things for the Cardinals, whichever way they decide to utilize that. Number 7 on my list of takeaways from this week, Joe Maddon and the slide rule. Okay, so a couple of things first. I think there are 2 ways to think about this slide rule thing, and one is kind of from this baseball purist perspective where you play the game the way the game's meant to be played, and that's how it's always been played, and you shouldn't change it because if you're changing it, then you're not playing the game the way that it was meant to be played. And I get that. In many respects, I fall into the classification of a baseball purist. But on the flip side, I think it's really important to acknowledge the business side of this game, and that to some degree there has to be protections, there has to be ways for a business to protect its assets, in this case the players, who double as the employees of the team and as the product that they're selling. So there's double incentive for the business of baseball to keep its players on the field. So look, I get it if you don't like the rule. I get the idea that to some extent, the more you manipulate the way players play the game because of an extensive set of rules, you lose a little bit of the original intent of the way the game was played. But at the same time, there's so much money invested in the business of the game now that there has to be some way to protect those business assets as they do their job on and off the field. Although I do have to say that Angry Joe Maddon is wildly entertaining, so I'm kind of okay with it. Number 8 on this list has absolutely nothing to do with baseball, but everything to do with the genuineness and the heart of a former Cardinals player, and that is, of course, Jason Mott and his annual Cornhole Challenge that is still taking place in St. Louis, although he's far removed from his time as a St. Louis Cardinal. The takeaway for me is that these players invest themselves in a game, yes, but they also invest themselves in a community, and when they take the time and the opportunity to use their platform to change even just a little corner of the world, it really emphasizes that these people are so much more than baseball. And Jason, not that you're ever going to watch this, but if you do, I just would like to say thank you for continuing to pursue your passion on the field, but to highlight so much more of your passion off the field as well. Okay, back to baseball. Number 9 on my list of takeaways this week is that the NL Central is going to be a wild ride. probably all season. I mean, if anyone thought that the Brewers and the Reds would still be hanging in there the way that they are at this stage of the game, you would have surprised me. And obviously, the 10th and perhaps biggest takeaway of the week is that first place is fun. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but this week, it's a pretty big deal. But now on to more important things, which, of course, I'm talking about Pitch Talks in St. Louis, coming up this week on Thursday night, and I will be there, as will some of you, because you took me up on the offer of some free tickets. First of all, from the Birdseeds video, the winner is Austin. Moving on, the blog post winner is sweet screen name, famous Mortimer. I'm gonna be getting some information from you in the next couple of days so that you can get your tickets. So that is that. Another week in the books. The Cardinals remain in first place. The Cubs remain closer to last place than to first. So that makes it a good week in Cardinal baseball. I'm Tara Wellman. I'll see you next time, and Thursday, if you're in St. Louis, on Birdseeds.